Hi guys and girls on YouTube, welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to be looking at the Grundig CUC 120 chassis. So the first thing we're going to do before we take the back off is see if we can find the service manual. Right, well this isn't going too well at the moment. I can't find the exact service manual, but I have happened to find this. Some service manuals, and also somewhere I did have the technical training manual for the CUC series, but that is proving impossible to find that as well, so we're just going to have to skip that for a minute. Now, back in the 1980s, if you were the first person to service this TV, you didn't need a service manual, and I'll show you for why in a minute. So this is the back of the TV. As you can see, it's got these quick release clips. You just turn 4 of them and the back pops off, which I can't do while I'm holding the camera, so we're going to have to put the camera down a minute. Right, so that's the back of the TV. It's a 20-inch one. It's fitted with a Toshiba black stripe tube, and what we're going to do is we're going to undo these here and then just drop the chassis down, which you do by lift and pull. And if we look in the corner of the telly there, that is why you didn't need a service manual, because all of the Grundig Compact Universal Chassis TVs all came with a service manual which was fastened inside the telly. So if we go over here, this is my original Where do you think I got all this lot from? So the second person who serviced the TV would actually have to buy a service manual, because the first person who serviced it would just keep the manual inside for himself. Right, so I've just removed the safety cover off the primary side of the power supply, the non-isolated side. I'm just going to reform the main smoothing capacitor before we do anything else. Right, come back to it a couple of hours later. The capacitor's absolutely fine now. It's 100% reformed. We're just going to have a look at the circuit diagram before we plug this in. Right, so that's the original diagram out of the back of the TV, CUC 120 chassis. Now this TV used the TDA 4600 chopper control IC. So the very first thing we do before we even think about turning this telly on is we're going to change that resistor there. 270k R646, which is in the collector current simulation stage of the chopper control IC. Now, in the day, these used to go open circuit, or they went high value, and what you do is you destroy the chopper transistor switch on. So we're just going to change that for a 350 volt metal film one, and then we'll turn the telly on, see what happens. Right, so that's the resistor replaced. Now I've also noticed the reservoir capacitor here for the auxiliary winding on the chopper transformer also looks a bit worse for wear. The top's cracked and it appears to be leaking out electrolyte, so I've changed that. Now it says the one I've taken out, which is obviously original, says 220 microfarad, and the one on the diagram says only 100, so I put 220 in because that's the one it came out with a factory. It's obviously a bit of a modification, but anyway, I've changed that. Now the CUC sets, unlike the earlier Grundigs, I think it was the 5010, these didn't suffer from dry joints. The earlier Grundigs with the thyristor time base, quite often there'd be a dry joint on the line scan coupling capacitor, and the whole thing would burn up and you'd burn all the board up. But these were reliable. They did have a few dry joints, usually on this regulator here at the top, which I've already done, and sometimes on the chopper transformer, but that looks okay. But these were, as far as dry joints were concerned, these were fairly reliable, not like the earlier Grundigs. Now, a long time has passed since I used to repair these for a living, so I can't tell you everything you need to know about this set, because a lot of things I've simply forgotten the passing of time. It must be 30 years last time I repaired one of these for a living, but I do remember what the most common fault was. It was this IF module here, this big tin, which incidentally, I don't know if you've noticed, all these boards actually plug in. I think that's why they called it the Compact Universal Chassis, because they could just plug boards in for different countries rather than redesign the whole set. You'd have a basic bottom panel and then they just plug boards in for different countries. But this here, this used to be the most common fault in these, and in the day there was a place called MCS in Manchester where I used to send these off, and they were, in the 1980s, it cost about £25 to have them repaired. Well, once I rang, and I used to send them off myself, and once I rang up, and it actually turned out they'd gone away on holiday. So I actually took one out and I had a look at it, and I managed to find out what the problem was with the module, and after that I repaired them all myself. I never sent another one away. So here's my original file from the 1980s, and the tuner IF can used to suffer from lots and lots of different faults. Now, I actually found that the problem was caused by distortion of the sync pulse. That was what it looked like in a faulty one, and that's what it looked like in a working one. Now, the problem was down to all the electrolytics, and if you look at my notes here, I put, if you get any of these problems, get the module repaired. But then when I found out what the problem was, I actually changed it to do it yourself. Change all the electrolytics in the tuner IF can. Now that cured all the different problems. The only other thing was a few dry joints in the can, but they were easily visible with just like an eyeglass. In fact, I've only just noticed that MCS have already repaired this can, because if we look, there's a sticker on the side there, and they wrap that round, presumably, to stop you looking inside to see what they've done to it. Now let's just see if we can get a view on the side. No, I'm going to have to take it out. Right, so that's the tuner module out the telly. And as you can see, it has been repaired already by MCS Limited in Manchester, and I've actually had a look through an old television magazine, and that's the advert for them. So I think what we're going to do now is, there's no point looking in the can if it's already been repaired, is to pop it back in the telly there where it came from, and we'll switch it on and see what happens. Right, so here we go then. I don't actually know when this telly was last used. It actually came to me from a shop that closed down. I would imagine it's quite a long time, and it's a few years since I've had it. So we're plugged in, switched on. Let's get ready to hit the button and stand back. Oh, let's check the volume first. Just turn the volume up a little bit. Brightness. No, that's colour. Brightness. Right, here we go. Oh, I can hear EHT. Let's just dim the light a bit. Oh, that's the light on. Oh yeah, it's come on. Now these sets, even when they were new, they never had the best picture of all time. Compared to a set like a Decca 80, which had a Toshiba black stripe tube, these were never a sparkling picture. But let's get it connected to a Skybox and see what it looks like. Right, so actually now it's been on a few minutes and it's warmed up, it doesn't look as green. I've connected it to me special Skybox there, which I've modified to display colour bars as well. We're going to select the last channel, number 8, which was reserved for AV use. It was something to do with the sync timing was different on channel 8 than the others. I can't remember now, it's a long time ago, but I know there was something different about number 8. In fact, I think some GEC sets I used to modify them for video use. So let's try and get that in there. Now this Skybox is set pretty high up. I think it's set to channel 68, so this is going to be right at the end. Let's put the sound on.
The way through this conference have been deeply disappointed, feeling betrayed about aid that they were promised that still hasn't been delivered. That remains a major concern for them. We'll have to see how much they push for that to be changed in the final
actually, the picture's not too bad.
He's saying he's determined to
the red's actually flaring a little bit, which indicates a worn CRT. But for the age of the set, it's not bad.
Well, that's what will happen, and it will take longer.
Okay, David, thank you. David Shipman there on the conference floor. Well,
switch the Skybox to colour bars.
Balancing the varying interests of developing countries, those that have been industrializing fast in recent years, like India, for whom fossil fuels have benefited their economy, and others like the smaller island nations of the Pacific, for whom rising
you can see the focusing's a little bit soft there. I mean, it might need even focusing in, but on the whole, that's not too bad at all for a 1980s TV.
And is there any sense that...
Right, so I can see now that it's not actually the focus that needs adjusting. It's the CRT that's a bit worn, because if I open this door here and adjust the contrast control, if I turn the contrast down, you'll see that's coming to focus now. If I turn it up, it's flaring a bit and it's gone blurred. So it is actually the CRT that's worn, but on the whole, for a telly that's probably about 40 years old, that's not too bad at all.
Look how close they've got. I mean, the European Union is almost within touching distance. But as you can see, Poland is determined not to let them through.
Alright guys and girls, many thanks for watching my video, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next video.
Their journey here, of bringing them to the border to pressure Europe. Belarus denies that. As for the migrants, they're desperate to leave here.
We want to go. We want to stay here.
Where do you want to go?
Europe.